Hey everyone, this is Yuri of Astrology Healing Arts, and I'm going to be describing the influence of the North Node in Aquarius through the houses for each sign of the zodiac. If you haven't already shown support on my channel, please like the video, share it, subscribe to my channel. I hardly ever ask for this, but I put a lot of energy into my content, and I know it's been a while, so thank you for those who have been patient and still interested in my work. But yeah, if you can just hit the like button, comment sometimes, it just helps to keep the flow, and it helps me to know that people are there. Okay, so I'm going to be highlighting for each sign what you're letting go of, what you're growing into, and what you're transforming from July 26th of this year, 2026, until March 26th of 2028. In general, the North Node in Aquarius is going to place emphasis on group endeavors, teamwork, the collective, the internet, new inventions, and it's going to also put emphasis on the fall of the elites and corrupt celebrities. We already see how Hollywood is dying, and a lot of the corrupt figureheads are being exposed, so there's going to be a lot more political tension, and it's all going to escalate, and it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. So let's not get black-pilled about it, but let's just understand this is part of a greater cycle at work in our lives, and it really places the power in our hands together, united in whatever category of life that is aligned with us as individuals. If you know what your rising sign is, listen to the description for that first, and then listen to the description for your sun and moon signs. Beginning with Aries, the North Node will be transiting your 11th house, which represents friendships, dreams, hopes, and wishes, and it signifies that you are going to be moving closer toward manifesting your goals, and you're willing to work for greater results in your life. So I want to say that your key words for this transit are long-term goals. That's not all, but that's a big part of it. And you are moving out of being primarily concerned with your own vision, your own creative process, and sort of merging with like-minded others, because the South Node in Leo will be in the 5th house, and that's the place of ego expression. So you're going to experience probably some situations in which you will need to release excess pride or attachment to your own creations, or perhaps you have children that are leaving the nest, and it gives you more opportunity to focus on your own goals and your own social life outside of raising these children. And another possibility is that you could be ending a romance or some entanglements in your love life, such as love triangles or codependence, or just, situations where you've gotten overly involved and it's a toxic situation and you need to take your attention off of that, or if you've been meddling or if you've been meddled with, a lot of different situations that have to do with romance or creative expression or your personal desires. It's like wherever things have been overly emphasized and inflated, now you're moving in a new direction, and you're really kind of figuring out that it's important for you to share your successes instead of only being concerned with your personal victories. And it's important that you also embrace some of those wild and wacky unconventional ideas and really pursue them with renewed enthusiasm. And it's okay. I mean, a lot of Aries people, you're already free thinkers, you're independent, but now it's just time to take that energy and drive and move it toward a more broad, future-oriented perspective that takes other people into consideration. contributing your unique gifts to the collective goals, right? So this could be a time in which you are really focused on bringing your best to the table. And this really gets highlighted when Jupiter is in a conjunction with Mars during the later part of this year, especially during November. And you're recognizing where you're needed, where your input is needed, and where you need to let go of a fixed idea of how it should be for you, but more looking at how this benefits the other people in your life. Okay, so now we're moving on to Taurus. This is going to be a transit of the North Node through your 10th house, giving you a focus on career opportunities and growth. But I want to say that that's going to be a big highlight for you. So keywords are career growth. But your other keywords are releasing emotional conditioning, because the South Node in Leo will be passing through your 4th house, and it's time to get out of your comfort zone, and it's time to stop hiding away at home. And I know you love your family if you have a family, or your close circle that you consider like family, but you might have a little less time for family gatherings, and you might have to place more emphasis on your social image and stepping into leadership and building a reputation in some way, because your presence and your input is very much needed. Now, in order to do that, you might have to get rid of clutter and become more organized and just become more clear mentally and emotionally. And you might have had some intense entanglements that have really been on your heart and mind in the past couple of years, and it's just that you need to find a container, or kind of put that on the shelf if you haven't already healed those things. It doesn't mean that you're going to, shove them under the rug or ignore them, but it just means that you've spent enough time processing for now, and now other things in as far as your worldly involvement are calling your attention. Like, you might have to show up at work or give a speech, or you just might have more clients. You just might be relocating, your home or business. And so that will be taking up a lot of energy over the next couple of years. And so you want to stay clear of, emotionally charged reactions that have to do with your comfort zone, your family, and your home, and really instead, reroute that attention onto what great things that you're contributing on a more grand scale. And so be careful that your energy is not going into a vacuum in any of your personal relationships in which, either it's toxic, or you're taken for granted, or it's just too much. You could have healthy relationships and a wonderful supportive family members, but perhaps it's just taking too much of your time, and you really need to create more balance in your life. Gemini, the North Node in your fellow air sign Aquarius will be transiting your 9th house, which relates to your desire to expand your understanding through travel, truth-seeking, perhaps teaching and publishing, and just a higher perspective in general. Those are your key words. Higher perspective, higher learning. I also want to highlight that other keywords more in relation to what you're releasing are mental limitations, because the South Node in Leo will be passing through your 3rd house. So it's really an important time to be looking at releasing limiting beliefs and ideas, letting go of drama and arguments with family members and siblings, cousins maybe in particular. Whatever it is, you just cannot afford to get so wrapped up in these power struggles or arguments that drain so much of your time and energy. And you'll be recognizing where it's been taxing on a mental and physical level, or where you just have so much anxiety, you haven't been sleeping right, and now you just want to go into a more relaxed and expanded view of things. And so this might literally be a time that highlights spiritual expansion and growth, either through travel, perhaps astral travel, perhaps just philosophy and some sort of spiritual education, consulting with a new spiritual teacher, or one that you already connect with, but your teaching, your learning is going to be taken to a higher level, or you are ready for a deeper level of teaching or transmission. And so this is really going to enhance your spiritual understanding and growth in that way. In more earthly matters, you could be finalizing or dealing with some legal situations. This would be especially legal matters pertaining to travel, such as visas. But sometimes it could be like you are engaged in long distance travel, or you have visitors from afar. And, you're definitely going to want to, if you are a teacher or a healer or someone in that sort of profession, you might notice that your audience is widening. You're going to be working with larger groups and communities and networks, instead of, keeping all of that knowledge to yourself. You might not have planned for this, or maybe if you have, it's going to move very quickly. And it might be a little challenging throughout the rest of this year, as you're releasing a lot of these limiting ideas that tell you, that tell you that that's going to be harder than it should be, right? But into next year, especially when that North Node and Pluto come together in 2027, you're going to see the profound transformations that are taking place in your spiritual life. Cancer. The North Node in Aquarius will be transiting your 8th house of death, legacies, and shared resources. Now, your key word for this entire transit is transformation, all in caps, okay? This is irrevocable change that you are entering. Your life will never be the same as it was after this. Now, I want to also highlight your other key word, as in what you are releasing, is possessiveness. The South Node in Leo will be transiting your 2nd house, so you're having to let go of some outdated ideas associated with your self-worth and your finances. So this could be a time when you are paying off old debts, releasing old patterns and possessions. And it could be that your finances improve, or for a time you're struggling because you're realizing that the old way of doing things, the old way of acquiring money or managing your money, has to change. I mean, you could be leaving an old job or switching careers, but your finances may particularly improve through collaboration, inheritance, or shared resources. And you may also be driven to share with charities or to donate. So, you are going to be overcoming long-standing fears, facing the taboo within yourself and the collective, and quite possibly undergoing psychological and spiritual rebirth, as well as possibly healing on all levels. But remember, this may not always be a pleasant experience, especially as we go into 2027. It's going to bring up a lot of things that you would rather not look at, that might be uncomfortable, but in the long run, you'll realize that these are exactly the kinds of things that you need to face and deal with. And some of these things might be complex sexual issues or sexual connections that are undergoing some sort of rebirth or healing. Whatever the case may be, there's definitely a spiritual initiation that's taking place for you. Leo. The North Node in Aquarius will be transiting your 7th house of relationships, creating a unique situation and or sensation of sort of being taken out of yourself for a time. Key word being partnerships. So this will be the house that highlights relationships in general, especially agreements and contracts, as well as diplomacy. And you may be learning about the arts of negotiation and compromise, and you may or may not enjoy this. Now, the other key word that you'll be looking at here, the theme, I should say, is self-image, because that South Node in Leo will be passing through your 1st house. So you're going to be letting go of concerns with how you are perceived. Maybe you just don't care as much as you used to, and you need to let go of trying to do everything on your own. Maybe it's time to collaborate or to ask for help, and to cooperate with other people, and just to be a little more humble about it, because it might actually get you further ahead and make something that you are working on so much more effective. So you're going to be releasing a tendency to get upset about your position. You're no longer so concerned or obsessed with your position or your lot in life. If you think things have been unfair or just really too much of a struggle, right? It doesn't have to be. Sometimes you can delegate. You can learn how to delegate through the 10th house and involve other people in your vision. And so you might also be drawn to artistic expressions that involve other people, because the 7th house is naturally ruled by Libra. And you might have those qualities of just wanting to have more peace in your life and less, striving, and more letting things come to you, allowing yourself to attract rather than going so hard after a thing. And especially in November, like mid-November, when Jupiter and Mars get together in your sign, you are challenged to let go of whatever is not working. And this is not a time to go all out. This is a time, if things are not going the way you want them to look at how you can simply be more receptive. I know that might sound crazy, because some of you are just used to having to work really hard to make things a certain way. And then when the North Node is conjunct Pluto in 2027, you'll really feel that your relationships have this transformative and healing quality, and perhaps you are building a business with someone, or you are benefiting from a partnership, or there's more money coming into your life because of a special partnership, or maybe you marry into money, some of you. But these are just possibilities. Virgo. The North Node in Aquarius will be transiting your 6th house of health, routines, and work. And I want to say your key word through this transit is well-being. That is well-being on all levels. So you might be starting a new exercise or diet program. And I mean, the 6th house is your house. So you feel somewhat familiar with and somewhat comfortable with the kind of theme that's being highlighted here. And you might start a new job or take your work more seriously. You might begin organizing your home and space, your office or property. And, in general, you just want to become more practical. Now, your other key word for this transit is to release the tendency toward escapism, because the South Node in Leo, it will be transiting your 12th house. And if you happen to have any addictions or self-defeating habits, they're going to be all up in your face. You can no longer ignore them. You can no longer just keep pushing the envelope, because there will be signs that if you continue to go in this direction, something very terrible is going to happen. You're going to lose something. So if you are struggling right now, you shouldn't try to do all of this alone in isolation. You need to let go of that habit of avoiding reaching out or avoiding connecting with others. And you have so many beautiful gifts to share with other people. And so as you come out, you are probably going to find that you're highlighting financial management in some way. You just want to become more organized, simplifying different aspects of your life so that there is more time for all of the things that are important to you. And you are also challenged to release negative patterns that have kept you in a state of negative thinking or even depression. Or some of you are also releasing misconceptions of a spiritual nature. If you have had some sort of ideas that you've been kind of lost in and circulating, you need to understand that they're only perspectives, right? And there are many different routes to truth. So some of you are making a break with certain religious institutions as well, and just experiencing a shift into your daily life and realizing part of your spiritual work is to be present and sober and taking care of what's in front of you, taking care of yourself, the people that you love, and not looking for, an easy way, not skipping these steps, in other words. Again, this might be a really wonderful time in which things come together with you and you find that you have great new coworkers and friends in the workplace and allies in the workplace. Or if it's more about your health, that you're going to the gym, you've got gym buddies to help keep you on track with your new and healthy habits. Libra. The North Node in Aquarius will be transiting your 5th house of creativity and love, highlighting your joy and heart's desires. Now, your key word is creativity of all kinds. And so inspiration and romance, upgrades and innovation of all kinds will be appearing in your life. Now, your other key words to keep in mind having to do with what you're releasing are group think. Right? There's nothing wrong with groups in general, but with the South Node in Leo going through your 11th house, you might be releasing old friendships or resolving group conflicts. You might find that certain frenemies are being exposed in your life. You are no longer seeking for group approval or no longer concerned with social expectations. You are unafraid to be outspoken, or you're just simply going to operate independently and pursue your own visions and your own dreams at this time. Now, you may still have important friends that you are collaborating with and connecting with, but it just means that when it comes to group endeavors in general, you really aren't prioritizing that as much, because this is a time when it's really about you and yours, what your heart is calling you to do and be and express. So this is a fertile time, literally or figuratively. Some Libras will be having children or adopting, and some will be having romantic experiences heightened, or if you are already involved with someone, it's just more of a fun time to share with your lover. So you're going to have this youthful energy about you, and for some of you who are in the performing arts, you'll have more opportunities to showcase your work or to express yourself in creative ways. So overall, you have a pretty fun transit here that, if you are prepared to make the most use of, could be very fulfilling emotionally and spiritually, and especially creatively. Scorpio. The North Node in Aquarius will be transiting your 4th house of home and family, and this is going to be a transit that highlights setting foundations. Those are your key words. So you may be healing family dynamics. You might be relocating or putting a lot of energy into the design and comfort or safety of your home. Perhaps you'll be setting up events, group events in your home, parties, or inviting friends over more often. But let's also take a look at what you're going to be releasing. Keywords, status, and public image, because The South Node in Leo will be transiting your 10th house, so you will be releasing an over-identification with your career and public image recognition and placing more importance on personal growth, getting to know yourself, getting to become more quiet within. If your life has been full of responsibilities and very work-driven or just stressful perhaps because of the weight on your shoulders, you'll have time to go the opposite direction and to just spend more time at home, spend more time relaxing, and spend time on just, hearing yourself think. Because life gets busy, the world gets noisy, and it becomes harder to stay in touch with what our intuition is signaling to us. So it'll be a time of getting back in touch with your own intuitive gifts. And so some of you might be drawn toward, working with a counselor or therapist, or for some of you, it might just be more creative, but it'll be, you might just want to spend time in the kitchen, cooking or baking for your loved ones. And whatever happens, there's going to be a chance for you to deal with any situations, especially when Pluto and the North Node are together in 2027, with any toxic dynamics in your home life or family life that have been blowing up or are blowing up, and you'll have an opportunity to make significant changes that are necessary for your own growth and your own peace of mind. Sagittarius, the North Node in Aquarius will be transiting your 3rd house of education and short trips, and also putting an emphasis on your connection with family and siblings. You might be going back to school, or some of you may be working on writing a new book. Now, communication is your key word. But I also want to say that letting go of your rigid beliefs and ideas and attachments to what you think is true is going to be equally important for you, because the South Node in Leo will be transiting your 9th house. And so if you've been overly dogmatic or judgmental, in some way these attitudes are not going to serve you anymore. Or if you've always been on the go, never at home, never in your own neighborhood, now you need to spend more time just getting to know your neighbors or spending time with your family and your community. Because maybe you've just been on a lot of vacations and you've found recently that you haven't found what you're looking for, and it's much closer than you realize, and it's right there in your own backyard. And so you'll have a chance to investigate these things, to become more clear. Literally gaining more clarity in your life is one of the biggest things that you'll be experiencing. And you'll probably, enjoy sharing what you learn with other people. So if you're into journalism or teaching, you will probably have some opportunities to share or, get together with groups of people that, are interested at least in what you have to share or of a similar mindset. So Sagittarius, just enjoy this time of being able to express new ideas and also, understand where other people are coming from. Be careful that you don't get into arguments with groups of people, and just if things start to get really escalated in those ways, just remember that it might help to let go of your attachment to being right. Capricorn, the North Node in Aquarius will be transiting your 2nd house of finances and values. And your key words for this transit are financial security. You're laying the groundwork, okay? And so this is a time for increasing your self-worth or pampering yourself more, giving more time to developing your talents and potential, and just growing your own personal resources, whether they be physical or spiritual. Now, your other key word, this is what you're releasing, is any tendency to depend on others, especially in sticky financial situations. When you're involved in power struggles, So a lot of you will be having important completions taking place surrounding legacies of the dead, or you'll just be kind of coming out of a financial crisis. So this should come as a relief. Now, it might be somewhat challenging with Pluto together in the North and the North Node in Aquarius in 2027, but that shouldn't stop you from making the desired changes in your life, because if anything, this could mean that the people in your life are a lot more supportive than they've been, or the people that were in your life that were giving you a hard time before. And in some way, shape, or form, the situation could lend itself to your becoming more established and just gaining more peace of mind. That's really important for you to connect with your friends and your allies and the people who affirm and reflect to you your best qualities and who really support you, people who are on your side, knowing that you don't have to do everything alone, but if you've been depending on the wrong kinds of people or depending in the wrong kinds of ways, now you're standing up on your own 2 feet and you're sharing with other people, but you're also not oversharing, and you're not getting lost in the details, and you're just finding that you have a lot more leverage overall in your finances. Aquarius. The North Node will be transiting your sign in your first house of self-image and new beginnings. So your key word for this transit is identity. It's going to place a focus on your persona and a personal reorientation that could bring about renewal and healing, and also just highlight the, coming into a greater understanding of your own personal inner truths. Now, with the South Node in Leo transiting your 7th house, your key word for release is wrong relationship or codependence, or just, overgiving, because you perhaps are coming out of a phase of needing external validation, and perhaps, some of you may be breaking up with a partner, or you're just not relying on other people anymore. You're no longer over apologizing for expressing yourself or wearing a certain type of outfit, or perhaps some drawn out legal issue is coming to a close and it's just taken all of your energy to get here. But what a relief, because now you can spend time on things that are more meaningful to you, because it's really time for you to shine. And perhaps you are going to receive more recognition for your contributions in some way, where other people were raining on your parade or stealing the limelight when it was your turn. That's all going to end. And so whoever was undermining you is going to be exposed. Whatever was owed to you will be returned. Whatever was lost will be found. I don't know about all categories and all things, but this is just a general highlight and a theme that you will probably be noticing within the next couple of years until March 26, 2028. We have to mention the fact that Pluto is coming together with the North Node in your sign, and this is a very big deal. It becomes more prominent in 2027, and this is a radical reorientation to your self-image, to your whole person. So whatever must go, whatever must change, ready or not, this is occurring, and it might not be comfortable. Some of you have already begun to experience these changes, but rest assured that with this transit, it is ultimately, for most of you, for your overall benefit. As long as you don't fight it, as long as you go with what you know on an inner level in the direction that you are supposed to be going for your own personal and spiritual expansion, then this is going to be an incredibly rewarding transit that will leave you irrevocably changed. Pisces. The North Node in Aquarius will be transiting your 12th house of spiritual healing, awareness, and personal reflection. So your key words for this transit our spiritual growth. This could be a time for dream work, journaling, any sort of inner work that hones your intuition and prepares you for a new cycle. Now, with the South Node in Leo in your 6th house, you're letting go of perfectionism. You might be leaving an old job. Some of you might be workaholics and you are realizing, hey, you know what? I need a break. It's time to stop doing this. And if you've suffered from nervous anxiety, this is a time to go inward, to become more calm as you pursue a more peaceful and or spiritual way of life. Now, you might be used to being the person that keeps it all together, whether it's in the workplace or at home or in a relationship. But now you just don't have the time or bandwidth. You just are feeling more called to taking care of yourself and or just listening to the still small voice within. And it's going to be important that you have that do not disturb sign, metaphorically in your aura. Don't subject yourself to situations and places that really stress you out, because you're going to realize just how much that takes away from your productivity and how much it drains you energetically. So this is a time when you might become very psychically attuned. A lot of you already are, but you're getting a lot of really important cosmic downloads, and you just want to make sure that you're in a space and a state of receptivity to be able to really accept and make use of those things. So spending some time in nature, is a good idea, because you don't just want to be isolated inside a tiny little room, or you don't always want to be inside. You want to be in a space that feels expansive and as clear from clutter as possible, to allow you to reach these, new states of clarity and have what could be some very profound spiritual breakthroughs that really change the course of your destiny. Thanks for listening, everyone. You can visit my website and book a reading at astrologyhealingarts.com.